So thank you all for joining. My name is Adora. I'm CEO and founder of AMAKA. Just for those who don't know us, although we have some people who have been very familiar with us, we are a platform, a creative as a service platform, connecting brands and businesses to remote creative talent across Africa and across diaspora. We focus and specialize in creating teams and providing them with creative infrastructure, with project leads, creative teams, and tech infrastructure to be able to scale and launch marketing, design, and content. And so essentially a lot of our work and focus is about, developing authentic storytelling, driving brand impact, not just from a community perspective, but from, driving sales lead generation for different businesses, and which kind of essentially ties us into our session today, why brand awareness and community matters in the AI age. We have the wonderful Adekunle Ayodele, who's joining us today from Atlanta. He is a senior technical program lead at Meta, the founder of Fostr, a global community empowering Africans and allies in big tech and startups. He's also the founder of Podway, a guided platform helping people gain clarity and momentum in career and life through structured pods and community support. And with over 25 years of experience driving program and product execution across very complex, high-impact initiatives, he's passionate about building spaces where Black professionals and underrepresented talent can really thrive, lead, and co-create. And his work bridges strategy, execution, and community, fueling both innovation and inclusion. And also outside of tech, I think he's an avid cruise lover, comedy fan, foodie, clearly a traveler as well. So very, very excited and honored to have him today for us to lead a session specifically in an age where AI is dominating a lot of, essentially across all of our spaces, where curating and creating content and generating content is faster than ever and becoming very crowded. And it's essentially figuring out for businesses how to really establish themselves, cut through the noise. So Adekunle will be sharing a really great presentation on this, followed by a Q&A session with myself as well. And then we will open it up to any questions and thoughts that you may have. So without further ado, I'll just pass it on to you, Adekunle. First of all, I just want to say, how are you? How are you doing? I know we just kind of had a session. Good to
Thank you so much for that intro, Adora. I am doing great. It's a Thursday. It's been a busy week, but hey, that's the nature of what we do. I'm here, like you said, based in Atlanta. And we have just one more day to the end of the week, and hopefully I can have a very relaxing, unplugging weekend. So thanks for asking. First off, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to say thank you, Adora, Lisa, Destiny, and the entire AMAKA team. Just the entire process that has brought us here has been remarkable. Look forward to many more of this. Like Adora said, I go by Adekunle Ayodele. Friends call me Kunle, right? Co-workers call me Ade, and everybody else, I know they kind of toggle between Adekunle, but not Ade for sure. So super happy to be here. And when Lisa had reached out and said, hey, do you mind come speak about, branding in community, especially in today's AI age, I said, sure, why not? Let's do this. So this is a topic that I care about deeply, how we build real trust and lasting community in a time where, as you know, content is faster and more automated than ever. And hopefully my goal here is to share stories, frameworks, and some practical tools for anyone building a brand that wants to matter. So without much further ado, let's jump right in. Hopefully I would leave some ample time, like Adora said, for Q&A, because I feel that should be the meat of the conversation we're trying to have here. All right, there are no questions. I'll move on to the next slide. And let me begin this slide by saying that, we're at a very fascinating moment, right? As you all know, right, AI has changed the pace of creation. So AI can now generate content, can write ads, can respond to emails, can take meeting notes. As we all know, a bunch of AI bots kind of joined a meeting way before humans actually joined. But one thing that we all know, that I deeply know, that AI, at least as of right now, cannot build genuine loyalty. And that still belongs to humans like us. Well, minus the AI bots on this call. And frankly, I believe that the brands that figure out how to lead with that would win in this era. So again, AI has changed the pace of creation, not the power of connection. And lastly, the brands that win now feels more human, right? Not just replication that most people are beginning to be familiar with. So I just wanted to start at least my opening slide with that. In terms of this next slide, I kind of thought what this should look like. Knowing fully well that now content is everywhere, but frankly, trust is actually scarce, right? So think of the fact that, like I said earlier, everyone can create content, everyone can automate, everyone starts to look and sound the same, right? So think about your LinkedIn feed right now, or your inbox, right? Just go to your LinkedIn, go to your inbox, right? Everyone's content actually feels polished. It's like there's no typo, there's lots of emojis here and there. It's like but it feels kind of empty, to be honest. Very, very different from what we had, say, last year or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm not saying typos are great, but at some point you could connect to the human side, and I feel that when everything looks good or feels too good, people start to look for what feels real, right? And I think that's where brand trust and community becomes, in my opinion, non-negotiable. So just want to throw that out there. I'm sure now you guys will go back to your LinkedIn profile and start looking through, like, this is AI, this is AI, this is not AI, this is AI. So just wanted to at least lead with that. Then that leads us into what I call the trust equation, right? That trust equals authenticity plus relevance plus repetition, right? That you just don't build trust in one viral moment, right? It's built by, brick by brick, by being real, or by showing up for the right people and doing it consistently. And that's the one bit that we probably need to hone in on. Some would start, and all of a sudden, you'll just go down the wayside. For me, I think if again, brick by brick, show up for the right people and start doing this consistently. And if your message is actually very, very authentic, it's timely and repeated, people will start to believe in you and follow you and hopefully stay with you. So again, trust, again, being authentic to yourself, being relevant, because, hey, you have to say something people are interested in for the most part, while still being true to yourself and being consistent across board. I think for me that has been, at least in my opinion, the secret formula. I'll move on to the next slide. And at some point I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions, or we can probably take that at the end of this session here. But frankly, community is now the new mode, right? If you'd like to think of it, right? It not only builds belonging, it sustains loyalty, and most importantly, I believe that it sustains loyalty, sparks organic growth, right? And I tell people why. So community is not just a checkbox or a WhatsApp group or a Discord server, right? Even though most of us are, or group me, right? So most of us are very, very familiar with that. Frankly, I think community is a culture. It's a sense of what I think is that this brand gets me and I'm part of something bigger. All right. At least that's how I have perceived community to be. In a world where everyone can actually post, the feeling people get from community would clearly set you apart. Right. And I just wanted to at least throw that out there in this conversation. And then the question then becomes, okay, what are the 4 ways in which you can build brand trust in 2025? Now, 2026 might be different, who knows, but the focus here is on 2025. And a few things actually sparked up in my brain when I was preparing this deck. The first is I say, show your face, let your audience see the humans behind the brand. And I think that's very, very key. Like Adora said, I just came back from a family vacation to Tokyo. Back in the days, I wasn't the one that would share too much information. I would go and come back and nothing. But while I was attending the sushi making class, I decided to record the experience. And not only did I record that experience, I decided to lead that experience into just the process of making the sushi was, just there's a process to it. And that how you tie that to how you show up in real life, the consistency, the hard work, and turns into this delicious meal that I got to enjoy all by myself. And I did post that on LinkedIn, and I got a few reactions from people. Some were asking, "Oh, Ade, are you?" So where I come from, I'm Nigerian, but born and raised in Lagos. So I'm asking, "Are you eating eba or something like that?" Like the way I was rolling it, they thought I was like kind of eating like a particular dish that we eat back home, and that was very hilarious to see. Number two will be tell your origin, share why you exist, right? People want to know the why, and I think that truly, truly hits home. At least that has been my experience. Number three is to invite participation and let them shape or let others shape what you build, right? Lately, you probably might have seen, people say, hey, build openly. And I truly believe in that. Obviously, you still want to share your IP or guide your IP, but for the most part, when you're building something, gone are the days where you say, oh, I'm in stealth mode. I'm just going to, heads down for 5 years and bring something out crazy. Yes, it applies to specific sectors. But for most, right, you want to build quickly, you want to iterate fast, and get people bought into the process, and them helping you to continue to refine what you're building. So for me, being able to openly share, obviously within reason, definitely, but then what's relevant to what you're building so that people can actually come in and help you shape it to something that you may not have even thought of. And then lastly, I think I touched on this earlier, be relentlessly consistent, and that's very, very key. Don't pivot every 3 months. I see people today, oh, today I'm a career coach. Oh, now next tomorrow I'm a thought leader. And next tomorrow I am a financial expert. Like choose one, right? Which are you, right? At least build, shall I say, a following, build trust with one brand first before they know you to be that and this and that. I get it that most of us do have multiple areas of expertise, but what has worked for me consistently is, just be who you are first, build following, and then you can always pivot into something, but not every 3 months or every 2 months or every time you see that, oh, this is getting lots of eyeballs and you're doing all those challenges and all that good stuff. It's like, just choose who you are and be true to who you are. And then, I wanted to, I know all this while we talked about AI and AI and AI, and I always tell people, right, AI is here to stay, right? And this talk is not about or against AI, if that makes sense, right? It's about how do you use AI every day to save your voice, but not erase it. Because it feels more so that most of us are beginning to lose our voices. Are they inclusive, right? This is not just me pointing out towards, well, myself inclusive. Sometimes when we use AI tools like ChatGPT, like Gemini, and the list goes on, it feels like most of us just put in something and then AI spits out some things for us, and then we just copy and paste and we run with it, right? And like I said earlier, everybody starts to sound the same, right? So we're not saying, hey, don't like erase AI, or stop using AI. We're saying use AI to actually save your voice, not to erase it. I say don't outsource your soul for speed, right? Use tools to amplify what makes your brand worth trusting, right? Heck, some of what I'm saying right now was actually headed by AI, right? But again, working with AI to understand that what I truly want to communicate based on my experience does show, right? So I encourage people to, there's AI, there's you. How can you blend the two together so that you still retain who you are? And you can, again, use AI to scale reach, to elevate your stories, and to personalize at scale. And most importantly, to check for typos and grammatical errors and all that good stuff. I think that's also key, but you all get what I'm trying to say. I think we're still looking good for time here. I just have probably 1 or 2 more slides, and then we can probably open it up for Q&A. This slide talks about a case study, again, as Adora introduced me at the beginning of this call, right? Last year, November to be more specific, we kind of wanted to test an experiment. The Africans and now allies do want to connect, do want to collaborate, do want to co-create. And I launched Fostr with that intention that, hey, Africans and frankly allies in big tech shouldn't be just a scattered few across multiple organizations, but how can we come together as a thriving force? And I frankly believe that we just don't need more jobs, or we need way more than jobs, right? That in addition to jobs and everything that comes with that, we needed a community. So frankly, with no ads, no fancy lunch, just people who actually cared and had a reason to gather. That's how Fostr was built. It wasn't a viral moment, and for right now, we've grown to about 550 of us across 35 big tech companies, reroutes in over 25 African countries, and all this has been built on storytelling, referrals, and shared mission. And that's what we continue to do, and hopefully continue to grow the community. So just wanted to try that out there. And then, this, I added this slide. Again, this was in reference to a particular moment that happened to me many, many years ago. I love to play football, or what folks in the US call soccer. And I tell this story now more recently, that I'll get ready, I'll get up, my shin guards, my boots, my balls, and I'll go play. And time over time, the captains of the teams never chose me. It's like, until one moment, one of the team members unfortunately got injured, and the guy waved at me and said, "Hey, Adek, hey, come in." And I saw that as an opportunity to step in. And when I did step in, I try to play smart. I try to let the ball do the work. And I tell people I don't remember if we won that game or not. But what I do remember that after that, I kept on, being selected over and over again. And I tagged the video. I said they didn't see me until they needed me. Most of us feel unseen. But then in that moment, though, you had to ensure that when those moments do come, now I'll talk about brand visibility later on. I'll tie that to this, but in that moment specifically, when those moments do come, right, how are you ensuring that you're ready? Because sometimes we only get one choice, right? We only get one opportunity. So how are you ensuring that you're ready and you're ready to seize the moment? But tying that to brand visibility is that, hey, maybe there were some things that I may have done differently to be seen, and not just wait until somebody gets injured, right? I was literally talking to a recruiter earlier today, and she told me, she said, "Oh, Ade, right now we actually do go to LinkedIn profiles and actually check what people have been posting as part of the hiring process, or as part of the recruiting process, or sourcing process," right? So I kind of knew it, but to hear it directly from her felt like, oh, okay. So really, when it comes to brand visibility, right, you have to put yourself out there. People have to know you for who you are, and you create that visibility, and not just wait until, again, somebody gets injured before you're called in. So just wanted to throw it out there. And the last slide, or the last 2 slides that I have here, focuses on what I call the final principles. That as tech actually advances, just remember this, that connection is the last competitive advantage, right? It cannot be cloned. it cannot be automated, and that brands that actually lead with trust would only survive, or would not only survive, rather, they would actually thrive and they would matter. So I kind of say, hey, content blends in, trust would stand out, community turns into advocacy, and AI would evolve, human connection will endure. And that leads me to my final slide, which is, hey, let's continue to the conversation. You can find me on LinkedIn. Adekunle Ayodele, it's a full name. And we can check us out at Fostr. We are Fostr.com. And we would love to have you join us. Over to you, Adora.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adekunle, for that, for the wonderful presentation and the insights. It was really thoughtful, insightful, and provided a lot of context on the ways that founders and businesses can really just start, embracing and leveraging AI to amplify their own experiences. Before I go into my questions, I see there's one from Marcy. In one of your slides about the origin, do you mean origin of your project or ethnic background? Could you maybe expand on that a little bit more?
No, that's a good question. It's the origin of what got you here, right? What's the story, right? So if you were to invent the next, acne product, right? Telling people the origin behind it, to say, hey, for the last 10 years, I've been struggling with acne. And all of a sudden, I decided to, try multiple solutions in the market, and none worked until I started building. People want to hear that story. That's the intent behind that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think that it's even a really good segue to kind of my starting point in terms of questions. And a lot of my questions, I really want to kind of utilize all of your thoughts and insights into how we can do it in practice. So, for example, I think something that you really highlighted a lot is, showing your face, building in public, and a lot of what you see, kind of seeing a lot of founders now, whether it's kind of beauty brands like Tala fashion brand or Oddme's fashion brand, where you have founders kind of speaking more. You have like LinkedIn on a Beehive founder as well. I leverage my personal network to be able to grow at. So it'd be great to just have your thoughts, like what would be the tips for businesses or founders, or people who are really starting out and who may feel intimidated by it or may not know how to really tap into that space. What are the ways that you would kind of, I guess, how would you advise someone who wants to kind of start that process out of building in public and to differentiate themselves amidst the sea of content and AI generated content?
That's actually a very good question. First of all, it gets easier. Let's start with that, right? Every time you start something new or something you're not comfortable with, it feels like a chore, right? But with time and consistency, right, you start to enjoy it, right? And most of us wait until everything is perfect. It's like, oh, no, I have to get this right. I just say start now. And what I mean by starting right now is, depending on what you're trying to build, right? Just look at what others in your industry are doing, right? And use that as an inspiration to start what's unique to you, right?
Yeah.
So back in the days, a few years ago, when I kind of started my journey in entrepreneurship, the first thing that always came to my mind when I had an idea was to rush and go build a platform. Right? It's like, oh, I always believed everything could be solved through technology. Oh, I have this great idea, I'll go build. In fact, there was one time I spent 6-7 months building this perfect product, thinking this was the next best thing after sliced bread. And by the time we were ready to launch, we had no audience, we had no community, and nobody came. Right? Now, there are different frameworks out there, right? One is called ACP framework, where they say, hey, build your audience, build a community, and then let that inform your platform, right? And I truly believe that that's the approach we've taken with Fostr, where initially it was more of me just writing on LinkedIn. I call them now introspective thoughts, where literally anything happens to me over the weekend. If I talk to Adora over the weekend and she says something that inspires something, I turn that into an article and I just send it out. With time, people started to listen. I mean, I do this at work too. Like literally every week, every Monday, I whatever. Trust me, you have a whole lot going in your life that you can write something interesting and fun and true that people want to listen to, right? And the more people started listening and reading my article and interacting with my article, I realized, oh wow, okay, literally I could create a community out of this, right? And that's where the community piece came in. And then with time, okay, now we have this community. What's the community looking for? Then we started launching services, benefits that the community want to see. That's ultimately morphing into a platform. So to your question specifically, or I'll say just that small. Look at what your other peers are doing. Make it yours. Don't try to be who you are not, because you would not be able to sustain that in the long run.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I know there's also some additional questions that I'd like to highlight as well. I think I'll just go from to Grace, because I know we had one from Marcy, and then we'll go back to you. But I think it's a really great one. Like, what AI tools would you recommend that we leverage for marketing insights or trends that can help us scale what we're already doing now?
The popular ones, ChatGPT, Gemini, Meta AI. There are a bunch of AI tools out there. I think some are slightly better than others, but I'll say just use all three or all four or five and see which you're comfortable with, and which gives you your desired results. But I would say once you find one that you use or that you like, stick with it, because what happens is over time as you interact with that particular tool, it starts to learn what and how you roll, and it starts to feel more like you, right? So that's my advice, because sometimes when you start jumping from A to B to C, right, you don't build that should I say deep interaction. It doesn't understand your style, and you might not get the desired results. So I would say initially try them all and then decide, okay, you know what, I feel more comfortable with this, and then you can go deep with that particular tool.
Great. Thank you so much, Adekunle. And also, I think another tool, I wouldn't even say it's just also just specific AI tools, but a lot of platforms now are integrating a lot of AI. So if you are someone that's trying to maybe build more of like a pipeline, for example, like platforms like Apollo are leveraging AI into their products now to help with like outreach, to understand buyer intent when it comes to just trying to find your ideal customer profile. So a lot of these kind of tools are already starting to build and integrate AI to be able to expand out on that as well. So I think it's also been really interesting to see those integrations as well. And I even wanted to just ask another one as well. It's kind of even just similar to what I said about like a lot of businesses looking to leverage AI to scale, but not wanting to be, sound repetitive. And I know you mentioned being human at scale or personalized at scale. For those who don't know, like how would you do that? How would someone, a lot of brands are winning at feeling human, but at scale. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, look at very iconic brands that we know of. I think Adora, I'm not sure if this was an article I read that you had posted, or AMAKA had posted around how Nike was doing this, Peloton was doing this, right? Look at big consumer brands. They now realize they've realized that activating the community, activating the user as the community can help amplify voice, and that leads into visibility, and that leads ultimately into sales, right? And that's what they're doing. They're the likes of I remember Oreo, right? Allowing we the user to be able to customize what our favorite snack would look like, and so involving us in that process I think it actually builds following. Then now I now get to tell, well, you all about Oreo now. I'm sure you guys were probably not thinking about Oreo right now in this moment, right? Because that moment really stands out to me. That's what matters the most in today's world. So that will be one incident. The other is just looking at the kind of campaigns that these brands are doing right now. They're leveraging, frankly, and partnering with what we call influencers, because they believe that most of the influencers are, like, even though some might be scripted, but for the most part, they do have following, and they have a following for a reason, because people can interact with their content, people love what they do, people can, relate with what they do, and now the brands are tapping into that to expand that. So for me, that's what I call trying to do that at scale.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's something that a lot of people are trying to, I guess, figure out in this space as well. And it's even something that we as a platform have always kind of been speaking about as well, as like, what are the ways that we can create content that AI can't replicate? And we talk about this a lot with Lisa as well, in terms of what are the kinds of content or information that AI models can replicate, that they don't know about, things about our actual features or products or your personal experiences, and then using AI to essentially, double down on that and create that as well. So I think that definitely makes a lot of sense there. I will also pass it on to Marcy as well. She said, what tips can you share to keep consistency on a regular basis? As you mentioned, that's really part of your trust equation. How would you go about kind of building consistency consistently?
That's a billion dollar question. Again, for me, I think I'm a program manager by default, right? So a lot of what I do requires, tracking, deliverables, tracking impact, tracking goals, and the list goes on and on and on. What works for me, frankly, is having a schedule, right? And making sure that as much as possible, start small and then grow from there. So, for instance, what that truly translates to is every Sunday, they said the three things I need to accomplish for the rest of the week, right? And then really sitting down, setting aside time to be able to get that done, right? And then come Saturday of that week, assess, okay, I said I was going to do three things. Did I really do three things? But start small. Don't say you do three. Just say, I'm going to do one thing this week, and then continue to increase that. For me, that's worked well for me. And then being able to use, lots and lots of platforms out there that allows you to be able to, like, put your thoughts down, have reminders, and ultimately too, in some cases, have accountability partners that actually keep you accountable for some of the things you've talked about. So just look within your circle, and you can tap one or two of your friends and say, hey, let's go on this challenge. I've seen most of these challenges, Adora, online, and say, we're going to do a 30-day challenge, right? It's fun, because now you know that, hey, I've committed to this challenge, I have to do that. So yeah, do that with one of a few of your friends for a week or two, and see if that kicks off that discipline in you, and then double down and continue to improve.
Amazing. And even I think using in like AI prompts as well to, if there's a specific niche that you are, that you're in and that you're trying to really be a thought leader on, is really essentially even using prompts in AI, maybe to kind of help with maybe suggested ideas and posts, but obviously making it, tying it to your kind of personal experiences, having, like, let's say it's just saying I need 6 posts about, I don't know, the business that you're building or challenges, I don't know. And just having that on hand is a really good way to kind of even start the process, and then kind of looking at scheduling as well.
And that's actually very, very valid, Adora. My AI bot pretty much knows the kind of things that I write about now. That sometimes I say,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
Inspire me today, right? And then, brings out like 10, 20 topics for me to choose from. And then I can then personalize that based on my experience. So thanks for that call out.
Yeah. And another one, Lisa, I guess, what do you think is the biggest challenge brands face now in creating great content, if it's not time or AI?
The biggest challenge brands face right now. Can you repeat the last part of the sentence?
If it's not time or AI, in terms of the challenges, in terms of for creating great content.
I would say, telling authentic stories, to be honest. I think right now content is everywhere. Finding content is like, I can write a novel right now by the time, we're done with this meeting, and I can publish that too, right? But will it be based on, personal experiences? Will it be based on, people's past and background? Probably not, right? So I think that's one big thing, right? That brands have to be true to who they are, and to connect with the audience they're looking to connect with. And again, leveraging AI to amplify their voices, not to replace or erase it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I even think, there's a really, I don't know how people feel about this, but I think there's been an interesting trend of, especially with companies trying to create AI influencers to push products as a way to save, which personally I don't really agree with. I think we should not be using AI to replace influencers, especially in an ethical way of pushing products. I think that just goes against the whole concept of building trust. So I think that's something that a lot of brands, in my opinion, are kind of facing this conundrum of like, how do we grow at scale? But there's authenticity in terms of content, but then there's the cost factor. And I think a lot of people are trying to use AI to reduce costs, but reducing costs in certain ways can break trust in other ways and have longer term implications there. So I think I think people are really struggling to figure out that balance. And in terms of how we create content, how do we create content that breeds trust, but in a way that's still establishing a sense of truth amongst their consumers as well. So I think there's just a lot there's a lot of challenges right now, specifically in this space as well.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I I don't know. I think we're kind of slowly coming out of time, I guess, Lisa. But there's just one question I did have as well. Just I think rounding up. It's kind of more so with Fostr, and I know we just talked about authenticity and community, and I know that there's been really big buzzwords, and I think the main thing is like, first of all, like, how did you kind of grow and spark your community, and also how can businesses tell when they are doing it right?
That's a good one. So as far as to the first part of your question, I think for me, when I first started, it was more of testing an experiment that do people truly want to come together, and what does that look like, right? So this wasn't about just putting together a WhatsApp group and say, hey, let's come to that. Let's all come together. But what I found happen afterwards was actually mind-boggling. Because when we launched, right, we had zero ideas to what kind of services we were looking for. We knew we wanted to empower growth. We knew we wanted to empower, Africans and allies, specifically in big tech and startup and community. But how we weren't too sure of. And then with time, people started like giving us ideas as to what that should look like. Like, hey, guess what? We need to be able to find other community members. So we launched our Fostr Rolodex, which is our member directory that allows you to see everyone within the community and connect with them. People said, hey, we're looking for jobs. Can we do something around that? Then we launched the Fostr board, which allowed for people to be able to search for jobs. And people were like, but we also need referral. Okay, now if you hear the Fostr board, and the Fostr Rolodex, you can actually find someone to help with referral. And people said, oh, but we want to build product. So we launched AMAKA Product, which is our biannual event where we bring together teams, diverse teams of people to start developing ideas. Well, every services that we've launched to date has been influenced by the need of the community, which is just amazing. Like literally now we've launched over 13 services, all based on what people are looking for, not what we feel they're looking for. I think I missed the second part of your question, Adora.
It was more so how can founders and businesses know if they're building community correctly or doing it right?
Your members would tell them. The members would tell them. They would get real-time feedback as to
Okay.
some of the gaps from the members for sure. And hopefully if they're listening, if they're paying attention, if they have metrics they're tracking, they can quickly tell if this is on track or not.
So when you mean by metrics, is it like, surveys that businesses should be doing consistently on the kinds of content or on, the kinds of products that they're building? Is it kind of in-person interviews? Like, how are we measuring success?
It's both informal and formal. Yes, you can add formal things like surveys and polls and all that, but we all know sometimes we put out surveys and very, very little participation, but there's some quick check-ins that you can use to gauge participation. You can see, okay, how well does this content land with my community? Which types of content are landing more with my community, right? And you can tell, again,
Yes.
it doesn't happen overnight. It requires, multiple and consistent trial before you
Yes.
figure out, okay, this is the right message.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adekunle. Really, really appreciate all your great insights. I wanted to make sure there are any other additional questions, any burning questions anyone wants to ask or even share. If not, Lisa just put in some feedback in the survey. But this is a really, really great presentation and conversation that Adekunle, and you can connect with him here. And also, if is there any other way that people can connect with you as well?
Predominantly, I'm on everywhere. Adekunle
LinkedIn.
Ayodele, for sure.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, for sure. That's my primary. I'm just, again, starting to do more on LinkedIn, on Instagram and Twitter and Threads and all that good stuff. But yeah, LinkedIn predominantly. Adekunle Ayodele, love for you to connect. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please be sure to let us know.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. And really appreciate your time, and just stay tuned for future webinars and sessions like this as well in the coming weeks and months. But thank you so much again, and really looking forward to seeing everyone in future meetings and webinars. Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, Adora.
Stop the recording, I think. I don't know who has the